What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We're back for the third round today of the World Peace Tournament Round 1. We have MiiWii and AllNewLuke here. They're going to be facing off in this first round. Very exciting World Peace race. So, what are you guys looking out for in this race upcoming here? We'll start with you, Luke. What is the one thing in this race that you are not looking forward to having to face?
100% pyramid clip.
100%, yeah.
I'm either getting it first try or 100th.
Yeah, it tends to go that way sometimes, especially on 1.2, which is what Luke is going to be running on today. This is our first race, I think that. Oh no, we also had Agron, I believe, was on 1.2. So we are going to see another runner who cannot do the first moon skip, so this will not be a part of the race. But yeah, 1.2 clips tend to be much harder, so much luck to you on that.
Thank you.
And MiiWii, what is the one thing in this race that you are not looking forward to doing?
I don't know. That's a hard question. I'd say like Cookateel. I mean, I know it's not that bad, but like I can't think of much that would be a problem.
It can certainly be frustrating.
Yeah, because the hitboxes are off.
Indeed, and there is a particular strat that you can do for the very third hit. But if it doesn't go your way, you usually fall down, and it can cause some problems. So just have to cross our fingers and hope for the best on that one.
Are there any areas you guys particularly feel strong about? Do you have some boss fights that you feel like you're
Cascade.
really... Cascade, yeah.
Okay. I think I'm okay at the new seaside route. I practiced that a bit, and I think what I do there looks pretty cool. Except for the boss, so I don't even go for the clip in the boss. But the rest of the seaside is pretty okay.
If you're going for the new route, then that will kind of compensate for the time you lose making the boss go around in the first place. So
yeah,
it's not a big deal.
I would say for real, for what I feel strong about would be probably Metro.
Just in general?
Yeah, just the entire kingdom.
That's great. It's a really, like, I find that to be one of the funnest kingdoms to run in this particular run.
I agree.
Just a lot of like you get to see it all, and you get to kind of bounce all over the roofs and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So definitely a fun kingdom to run, especially when you get it right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, boys. Looks like we are ready to go. You guys can queue up and leave the call whenever you are ready. We'll get this show on the road.
Okay. I'm gonna leave the call now.
To you both.
Good luck, MiiWii.
Good luck.
All right. And commentating today for this race and the next one actually is myself, Dangers, and we have little Aggie as well.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
It's going all right. I'm excited.
It's been a nice day, and I'm ready to just chill with some World Peace runs.
Yep.
See how these guys do. We were just taking a peek at the leaderboards. I believe Luke was saying that his PB is out of date. It looks like a low 126, and MiiWii, who runs on 1.0, looks like his PB at the moment is a 121. I know that Luke has been performing a little bit better as of late. Probably better to compare their any percent times, which are much more comparable and much closer together.
Yeah, and again with MiiWii on 1.0, that means that he will be about 30 seconds slower than his PB optimally.
Indeed.
Because of those 1.0 exclusive tricks that will not be allowed for this one.
That's very true. And the other thing about that too is that if you're running on 1.0 on a consistent basis, you may be used to the movement that comes along with doing those tricks. So taking a step back and having to do the 1.2 route might actually be a hindrance in itself, just because you're not used to the way they have to go.
Yep.
So we'll see how that plays in.
Getting started here, looks like Luke got the better digital load there, and he also got the spin pound, which MiiWii happened to miss, so he's got a little bit of a lead there.
There you go. Optimal movement. I believe that Luke is a Koopa free runner as well, so when it comes to these small little optimizations, I imagine that he probably has the upper hand in certain situations.
Yeah. The amount of tech that is crammed into those small sections in the free runs are very impressive.
It's batty to me, yes.
Yeah.
And I guess there is a level of being able to reset, which is okay because it's only like 12 seconds. So you can, if you miss a spin throw or whatever, you can just start over and not really feel bad about it. Whereas, you know, longer categories like the actual runs themselves tend to be a little bit more frustrating to lose.
Maybe going for left side where Luke's taking it easy with the right side here.
And a very interesting comparison. It almost looks like they went around the same hat, just in different directions.
Yep, left side does save about 3 seconds, and maybe nailed it there, so. Good stuff on his part. And that was a very good fight. Wow, maybe he's looking at like a 224 here, maybe?
I think you might be right. Very solid start. AllNewLuke just a little bit behind. That's mostly because of the right side. And off to Cascade. In this early part of the run, very similar to any percent.
Yeah.
Not going to see many differences here. Like we said, Luke is running on 1.2. He will be going with the 1.2 route, and MiiWii will be forced to follow as well. So they will be getting that first moon. And now, speaking of first moon skip, there was one recently discovered. They used to do this kind of neat little ground pound thing. You have to get up on the rock, throw your cap, and do like a vault across the chasm, across the waterfall, basically. But I guess there was an easier one found recently. I don't know too much about this because I run on 1.2. Maybe you can fill us in a little bit.
So essentially, right there where the chest moon is that you normally get at the end of the first moon skip route, you can kind of, if you do a sequence of jumps and get a wall jump right near the corner of that, you can actually slip behind and under the invisible wall, and then if you turn yourself around from the wall jump quick enough, you can actually pop out on the other side and just be on your way.
Right, I see. And it was timed to be slightly slower, I take it?
Optimally, yes, it is slightly slower than the VTT strats of the...
But it does seem easier as well.
Yeah, I've messed around with it. I still prefer just regular FMS, but I do a slightly slower variant of it. So I could probably switch over to this new FMS and actually save some time, but I'm not sure if it's worth the effort.
Fair enough. I've heard that from a lot of like the top runners that have already been doing the other FMS. It's, you know, 3 minutes into the run, it's not a big deal to reset on the regular FMS if it's going to save them that second or whatever. So they get used to the one thing, and if it's faster, they might as well stay with it, right? So
exactly. Both runners having a good dino skip up to the brutal fight, and then a very clean fight to follow.
Yeah, nothing too special about this fight here. Just using your audio cues and your visual cues to time the jumps properly, and making it look easy, of course.
Yeah.
It was also discovered recently for 1.2, aka not doing FMS, that if you get the chest moon and do the chest clip back up to the Odyssey, it's actually faster than getting a tall cliff moon.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if these runners will go for that. It is a little bit riskier, of course, because as soon as you miss the clip, you probably lose time. But
certainly, yeah. Well, maybe actually only going for a double jump there. I usually do a triple jump up to the.
AllNewLuke doing the same, actually. I've never seen that before.
Are we out of date?
I think we're outdated.
Oh no.
MiiWii and Luke activated. Oh my goodness.
Well, all right, pretty good.
Very solid.
Yeah.
Keeping it tight. Not very minimal mistakes. I think Luke is only behind simply because of going on right side. Otherwise, this has been a textbook start, basically.
Yep. He's only trailing by about 6 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Sand is an interesting kingdom because there are several little moon swaps and even a big reroute that's been very recently developed. So we'll see what they actually go for here.
Indeed. And I always thought it was kind of hard to route around World Peace just because so many of the moons are already accounted for.
Mm-hmm.
But Sand is a bit of an exception because there are a lot of story moons in Sand, but you actually skip most of them. So there are a lot of slots to fill. with other moons. And we were kind of just going with a route that was very similar to any percent, but just kind of cutting some corners here and there. And that was the route that we took for the longest time. And since this tournament was announced, basically, we've opened it up a little bit, and some more optimizations have been made from people with kind of a keen eye for timing. And it's opened up drastically. This new route actually saves about 10 seconds, which is pretty incredible. It involves doing things like dram, as well as some bullet bill capturing, juggling in the nighttime portion. And it does look like MiiWii is going to be taking that route, actually, opting to skip the dune.
And you'll see that Luke is heading over to the dune. So MiiWii, if he pulls this off correctly, this should be a time save for him. I'm not actually sure how long of a time save that is.
It all depends on if you get dram. From what I've heard, it times out to about 7 or 8 seconds if you manage to nail it. And if you don't, it's still about 1 or 2. If you decide not to go for dram at all and do what MiiWii did with the backup there, then it's probably somewhere in the middle, like 3 or 4. But that's probably the coolest part about that trick right there, is just the uncapturing the bullet bill, grabbing the checkpoint flag, and then coming back up with an up throw and recapturing.
Yeah. So after the brutal fight, MiiWii will be warping back to that one, and then we'll see Luke in just a minute. He's gonna grab the GSA checkpoint instead for his warp. And wow,
MiiWii just
MiiWii
making
with
it look
first
so easy.
try.
He didn't even slide, he just went for it.
That was very impressive. Ooh, Cappy bopping
Just
GSA on the nose there.
Yeah. I always find that Cappy likes certain things more than others.
His priorities are a little whack.
It's never what you want it to be, that's for sure. Yeah. MiiWii showing off how easy 1.0 clips actually are. We're going to see if Luke can manage to slide through just as easy.
He was nervous about this, and he is on 1.2, so this is a significantly harder trick for him.
Indeed. I find that the positioning is really important. The amount that you jump up in the air before you do your ground pound is important. It's all very precise. There's very little room for wiggle. It looks like he's still kind of banging his head against the wall there.
This is a rough one, because I mean, every time you miss it, you're just panicking a little more about it. So I definitely understand the mental wall here as well as the physical one.
Exactly. And we're seeing MiiWii do the Harriet fight here.
Yep.
A little first-person swagger.
Okay.
You know, why not? You know,
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
Lucas
the first
threw,
strats.
okay.
Oh yeah, he's
Good.
done it. He's done it.
That's
What a
definitely got a hurt of it. That was 30 seconds or so, maybe.
By my timing,
I'm
it's
not
almost
actually
like
sure.
it's almost a whole minute. In fact,
Oh my! Wow.
it's a rough one. We're gonna see how he has to recover from this, but hopefully he can just play solid for the rest of this. If that was the hardest part for him, then he's golden from here. So.
Yeah. And again, he will not have to be worrying about sewer clip, which is another very difficult clip, but so difficult that it's actually we just consider it not possible on 1.2. So neither of them will...
Indeed. I do actually, looking back in the chat, it looks like Luke has allowed MiiWii to do the sewer clip if he chooses to.
Okay.
So that could be interesting. I think that's, you know, a strategic play. It could be. Considering that clip.
He could be thinking, you know, maybe MiiWii wastes a whole bunch of time going for it.
Exactly. Because even though it is a clip and it would save time, it doesn't save 3 minutes like the other clips do. It saves like 20 seconds maximum.
It's a big brain play.
Indeed. So if MiiWii, and we did just see JKB in the last race, not have a very good time getting through that wall. So it's possible that MiiWii could do the same.
Yep. And we'll see MiiWii's done his warp here. Oh, missing the capture on the bullet bill. But so he'll be doing these moons that Luke got earlier, and then he'll be breaking a cage moon with another bullet bill. And then he'll be on his way to the boss fight.
That's right. And this is kind of the bullet bill juggling that we're talking about here. You have to go out onto the leaning pillar first, open the crate, or the box rather. The inside of rock is a hard place. Then you break open the cage and grab yourself another bullet bill.
Yeah.
just missing the one cycle on the bullet bill. So he's and he crashed
no.
the wall there too. This is very tricky strat to do, especially because it's so new.
Yeah. And the hitbox of that fence can be a little strange, as well as if you're going too fast, the turns can be unpredictable how reliable they can be.
Indeed, yep. And it's probably a good idea to break the crate open with the bullet bill that's closest to you there, but you can also use the one that's on the lower ledge to grab the moon if you want to, and then start taking it on its way. There's many different opportunities there. It's kind of hard to tell which one is the fastest because it's still such a new route.
Yeah. So if Luke has a good time getting over to the boss fight here and doesn't get hit by too many zombies, he'll actually gain time because MiiWii's execution there should have not allowed him to save anything from the more optimal route.
Indeed. And Night Sand in the old route doesn't really contain anything.
No.
In fact.
Just a quick jaunt.
Yeah, and a quick jaunt through these very annoying zombie creatures, which I can attest. I'm actually very happy about the new route because you get to avoid a lot of this nonsense.
And you'll see right there, they just kind of pop up wherever they want. There's no real way to predict them.
The best you can try and do is like do a roll cancel and try and throw your cap at them like at the last second, but it's usually right in your way, so you have to react fast.
And we'll see, MiiWii cleared that gap with a single bullet bill with the don't hold Y mechanic, which I
That's right,
faster using the boost. Which is interesting. Oh, okay. Little safety strat landing on the platform. But he's entering MiiWii just fine.
Just missed the timing a little bit on his jump, but he's in the arena, safe and sound. Of course, falling would have been much worse, so keeping it safe. Luke maneuvering through this part now as well. And it looks like he
oh no,
is a little too close to that laser beam there.
Luckily there is a hidden checkpoint here, so he should respawn right there.
Indeed. It's probably the best place to die in here if you're going to pick one.
Okay, he's going to take it a little easier. Can't blame him.
And now Knuckletech, I mean, there's not very much that's really special about him. I've found that like over the time we've kind of found these baby little optimizations that make this fight just a touch faster than we thought they could be. But it's pretty straightforward auto-scroller type of level as it is, so.
Personally, my least favorite World Peace boss.
I'm not a big fan myself. It's certainly not difficult, but it's not memorable either.
No.
You've seen a lot of this before, the two hands in the head.
It's the classic Nintendo boss.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when the game goes to the editors, they say, "Did you include that boss? I don't see this boss in there, so you're gonna have to try again."
MiiWii finishing up the boss right as Luke's starting to get ready for his first punch here.
Very handily as well. No real mistakes there. And something to note here, they're both kind of going off to the side. I'm not sure if that's the faster strat. We have determined that like rolling through the middle of the fists, each phase actually saves some time and has something to do with like the floating head getting back to the center of the arena faster or something like that. But regardless of how it works, it seems to be the faster method.
Yeah, and maybe he's looking for like a 15-25-ish exit. Pretty good.
Pretty solid. Very minor mistakes from MiiWii so far. Just a little bit of trickery with the new routing in sand, but aside from that.
So that's the danger of going for the brand new stuff. It's
Indeed.
better, but are you prepared for it?
Yeah, and in a race setting, sometimes going with the comfy strats is probably the way that's going to win for you. And Luke is doing a total 360
around the road.
no-scope.
Wow.
That's a good way to finish off the fight.
Aiming that hand actually can be very annoying because it tries to autocorrect you into the face, but if you get close like that, it can actually just send you through an infinite loop, just circling.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, maybe going for Wooded Kingdom first here.
Oh, this is interesting. What is the strat here?
Yeah, after sand, you do get an option of whether you want to go to lake or wooded first. It does not matter for this category which one you choose, but typically people go lake first because it's just the default option.
Perhaps MiiWii is just the showman, looking to switch it up a little bit and see, you know, after both of the kingdoms are done, just how far apart these guys will actually be. So.
Sure. And what it is absolutely the more involved kingdom, so you might just want to get it out of the way.
That's a good point also, yeah. I have heard of other runners doing that before too.
Yeah.
It's much easier to reset when you've spent 15 minutes rather than having spent 20, I suppose.
Yeah. Maybe getting a nice nut clip there to just speed up that movement just a tad.
Yeah, not opting for the very dangerous out of bounds movement. I don't blame him. One false step and you're in the deep woods, which is, of course, a very, very big time loss. I've always wondered, like, I've never continued to run by falling into the deep woods, but, like, what would the strat be there? Would you just go about collecting moons in the deep woods?
You can get like 3 pretty quick moons down there, but after that, I'd be a little stumped.
Yeah.
You do have a choice of where you get back up, so maybe you could do some really fast thinking and
Factor that in. It's actually rather surprising that nobody's come up with, like, that kind of backup, but I guess it's just because, you know, resetting is a legitimate option.
You know, Luke taking the more traditional route. Looks like he's having a good start to this lake.
Indeed. I've always thought of this kingdom as kind of an auto-scroller. There are a couple of, like, tricky optimizations you can do, but for the most part, it's going to always look more or less the same.
Yeah, especially during the beginning. That movement towards the ground pound moon and then through the zipper into the water, it can result in some little minor mistakes that can be annoying.
Indeed. And then fish movement is pretty safe, pretty standard. Also, MiiWii here going for that tower skip. He makes it look easy. Just landing on one of the beams there.
Yeah.
I've seen many different methods for pulling that trick off, and all of them scare me still. But as long as you get up there, that's all you need. Dying in that particular part, especially because you've not only done Flower Road skip, but also tower skip, you have to come back from that checkpoint and do Flower Road skip again. So it can be a very big time loss if you miss the tower skip.
Yeah. Luke having a little bit of trouble with the cheap jump up to Rango here.
Yes, probably the only other part of Lake that is not very easy. But both fighting these Brutals now. Different Brutals.
Are they brothers? Is that the lore?
I thought they were all just part of like a wedding planning troupe.
Okay.
I don't know if they're related,
It could
though.
be a family-owned business.
And the madam is the mother. Though it never did explicitly say that. In fact, they never really tell us what the relationship between the Madam Brutal and the other Brutals are.
Well,
aside from the fact that they're all rabbits.
Larger than the others, so.
So you would assume.
Presumably she is older.
But aside from that, that's all we get. Now, MiiWii is approaching what is arguably my favorite part of the whole run, is this second chunk of wooded. Just the movement here is very technical and very tricky, but it's also very like satisfying to pull off, just because you go from the bottom of the kingdom to the top in a matter of about a minute. He makes it look easy as well. This rocket flower movement here in particular.
Yeah, that was a very nice grab. He noticed that he threw the hat out and then he ran towards the hat so that he got that boost just a little bit earlier. He's actually going for the rocket boost here. Oh!
The only problem with that rocket boost that makes it so hard is that you don't get an extra cap throw against the wall to gain some height. So you have to make sure that you kind of grab the moon at your absolute maximum height in order for that to work. But he did get the refresh. So had he got the height, he would have made it, but unfortunately not this time.
Yeah, so to get that refresh, you just want to do a spin throw and then ground pound. Is that all there is to it, I believe?
I'm pretty sure that's it. I can't say I've ever tried it myself. The only time it was... The only time that it was ever viable before was in Seaside for any percent.
Right.
With this new strat, though, I think Acrid is actually the only one who's been able to pull it off. So it's still a very tricky one, and I'm sure we might find a way in the future that makes it a little bit more manageable, but still a very, very tough strat to do.
MiiWii entering the Torque Jerk fight here, and Luke, and we'll see if he does nut clip.
He went for it.
A little fast to me.
Yeah, he's through.
He's fine, okay.
And he's going to go for this.
Going for it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, he's doing, okay,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
He's doing the gate skip, so not quite as fast as getting up the cliff. Perhaps a little bit safer the way that he's done it. But it does skip the lever animation and the gate opening. It works out to about 2 or 3 seconds still of time save. That he may have just lost by bonking against the wall there. But that's okay.
As it goes.
As it goes.
I really like that play though, because that does save him time, but it mostly eliminates the big worry of falling into deep woods.
Yes. Which is a little bit safer. Still not incredibly safe. You still have to go over the gap, but...
Right. Little poison jump from Luke, very nice.
And we see MiiWii here. They're both in wooded now, so it looks like they're kind of close.
Yeah.
However,
momentarily, yeah.
Lake is a very short kingdom, and MiiWii is almost finished here, so we'll have to see what the gap looks like when he comes out on the other side. Fighting Torque Drift currently. Another one of those kind of auto-scrollery type of bosses. I like the design, personally. The fight itself is rather bland, but that could just be because fast strats make it that way.
Yeah.
If you don't hit the little glowy orbs in time, he starts kind of spinning them around and actually makes this fight rather difficult, but Speedy Nut Boy fixes that.
Good old Speedy Nut Boy.
Coming to the rescue. AllNewLuke also managing to make that tower skip look really easy.
Yep.
Playing it nice and safe, making it up to the boss.
I can't blame him. Luke, he's far enough behind so that he really has two options. He can either go for really risky stuff to save time here and there, or just make sure that he doesn't make any more mistakes and wait for MiiWii to drop the ball somewhere.
Indeed.
It's a tough situation. Being behind in a race can be very stressful, but as long as you can cool head.
It can be hard to decide. Like I always wonder, should I go for the riskier stuff to save time, or should I just play it safe and hope that something goes wrong on the other end? MiiWii, of course, doing the Torque Drift fight, and he comes out clean. No problems there. And he's going to be on his way to Lake now, which is such a weird thing to say in this category, but...
It's classic MiiWii. I believe he does that in any percent as well. He always does wooded first because it's the reset central.
Right. Fair enough. Yep. Kitten can confirm that one. We have a secret guest star that she's not on the commentators list, the one on the screen, but she is present.
No. I liked that rocket flower grab that Luke did there to get up to the tank here. Yeah,
actually a very interesting decision. The only thing that would kind of stress me out about that is like stopping the rocket flower, perhaps.
Sure, yeah.
And making it up the wall, but definitely a quick... I wish rocket flowers were everywhere, to be honest.
Oh, it would make routing in so many more areas a lot more interesting.
Especially when you factor in the refresh.
Mm-hmm.
MiiWii is having a little trouble with the fish, showing off his Procon having abilities, though, with the down throws.
Did you
I didn't even know he was on Procons. No, I did not. What,
Luke doing some roll cancels there into a hat bounce from the fall, and then
my goodness.
A spin pound dive around the corner to get to the tank. That was very nice.
Very swaggy.
I'm not sure how much faster that would have been than just long jumping in the general direction, because you are technically taking a less straight line, but that was definitely some fancy footwork.
Showing off the Koopa free running abilities, I think, there.
Of course, yeah. Oh, MiiWii. Okay. I was afraid he was going to get tagged there.
Something about opening up those flower pads seems to cause problems. Also, that was a very swaggy way of hitting Rango on the first hit there. Starting with a roll into a roll cancel jump and dive onto Rango. That was very slick. Making that fight look very easy.
And it looks like Luke is approximately 1 torque drift behind here.
Indeed.
The official time unit.
Very accurate unit of measurement. As defined by all the universities.
Yes.
And we're going to see if he is going to go for the speedy nut boy strat. It looks like,
Oh
man, is that weird? I've had that happen a couple times where you just like, sometimes you raise before the boss's hitbox activates and you just climb to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Looks like Luke is going to take the sit and gaze approach to this fight, actually. Just look Torque Drift dead in the face. It's the safe way, of course.
Yeah, why not?
But it does eliminate the speedy nut boy strats, which again would make this fight actually a little bit harder because you're going to have to be hitting some moving targets.
A little bit of hiccups with that second hit there, but overall not too bad. Got a heal, and he's got one more cycle to go. It actually may be a while before these guys are in the same kingdom again, because Cloud is going to be very short, and then Lost is also quite short.
Indeed. Lost ends up being what, like 3 minutes?
Yeah, I believe so.
3.5.
I think my goal is a 2:14. I want to say.
Oh right, okay, it's even shorter than that.
Okay.
That's nutty.
Yeah, certainly the highest moon density kingdom in the game.
Most certainly, yeah. As far as all the longer categories are concerned, it's one of the main reasons we go back there in the first place. It's not connected by any paintings, but there's just so many moons in such a tiny little island, you know?
Mm-hmm. MiiWii having no trouble with Cloud Kingdom here. Very nice.
Very
fight.
simple Bowser fight. Sometimes the second phase can be a little bit of a hassle. I find it's, for some reason, that the Bowser fight at the end of the game is easier than this one. I don't know why that is. And then on to Lost, which of course, less so now, I think, but definitely when I was very first running this game, Lost was the run killer for sure. Mainly because of this jump.
This jump was a killer in the early days before people kind of figured it out more. Nowadays, I don't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
It's more the butterfly that is the big terror for me, because you have to rely on Cappy cooperating with you.
Yes.
Alright, he was a good boy for MiiWii.
Sometimes you can jump over that ledge, Mario will just fall out the other side, and then because Cappy's going for the butterfly, you have no safety net, no way to get back up.
Okay, going for a spin pound off the tree.
Yes.
Quick stop to dispose of Klepto.
It's a very risky strat, that spin pound. I find that sometimes you can hit the branch in the wrong way and just like roll off, kind of. I don't know what happens exactly, but it's happened to me before. It's not a fun way to lose runs.
And we'll see if MiiWii does the cage triple here.
One of my favorite strats. It's a love-hate strat, you know? Oh, he's going right for the rock pillar.
Safe. Can't blame him.
Indeed. The one kind of crummy thing about Lost is that you don't collect any checkpoints, so any death is an immediate send back to the Odyssey. So if you're on the other side of the kingdom when that happens, it can be quite a hefty time loss.
Yep.
So as MiiWii leaves, Luke is just arriving. He's going to have to play this a little bit safer.
Alright, he makes it. Got a little caught up on a rock there.
Now, before the meme tree was the thing, because I've been here as long as it has been a thing, was there something else that people were doing in order to skip Klepto?
I don't believe so. That strat has been around for quite a long time. I think before meme tree, there may have been, so you can jump on the tree next to the metal cage moon tree.
Right.
And then you can kind of get up to this propeller moon that Luke's at right here and hop along and disable Klepto that way.
Right, I getcha. Because you can't stand on the tree that has the cage, because that'll actually activate Klepto as well.
Yep.
But the shorter one next to it is okay.
It's consistent.
And it's good for backups too. If you happen to break the cage open and then take a death, you can use that shorter tree to get back on. As long as you don't touch the base of, or like the top of the tree, that'll be okay.
Yep. Bit of damage for Luke there, that's okay. He broke the box. That's the
Indeed.
important part.
And after Lost, sorry, of course, is Metro. Night Metro, very similar to the way it is in any percent. You're just going to take one quick pit stop to the Swaying in the Breeze moon, the one that MiiWii just grabbed before entering City Hall here. The only reason for that is because we don't really go into that corner of the city in the World Peace route. There's a lot of story moons here that kind of make the bulk of the moon count in this category. And that one just so happens to be very much in the way as you're on your way to the top of City Hall, so we might as well pick it up.
MiiWii having very good Dark Metro movement there.
Indeed, the whole kingdom actually so far has been very clean.
Yep. We'll see how he fares in the boss fight. There
It's
is
always a fun
potential for a really poor RNG pattern here. He could 3-cycle and lose about 20 seconds or so. Unlikely though.
Yeah, most of the runners have got this kind of feel down for this boss fight. It still doesn't make it easy in some scenarios. The patterns are all RNG. It's very, very rare to see the same one twice. But the best scenario, basically, I always try and hope that the boss is going to go across the bottom, because you're basically like shooting him right in the face. But
yeah,
sometimes he'll do sorts of loop-de-loops up at the top, and the hitboxes get in the way of each other. It's not fun.
Yeah, if he wraps around itself, sometimes it can be truly impossible for you to do anything about it.
Indeed, especially if those are like the last orbs left right before he disappears. MiiWii just having to do a bit of cleanup here.
He's okay.
All is well in the land. Now, Day Metro is another portion that has been given a little bit of tweaking lately. We used to kind of take a little bit of a scooter route through Day Metro, go by bench friends, sit on the bench, have a nice little tea time after getting the scooter moon, and then going directly to Pauline and basically just doing a quick wrap of Day Metro and collecting all the musicians with any moons that are in the way. But we have noticed that a couple of moons are actually slower, including bench friends. And so he's been routed out recently in favor of the moon that's hovering above the pool. And like I said, I believe the runners have agreed that Sewer Clip is okay if MiiWii chooses to go for it.
Yep.
In which case, the next fastest moon would be the one that has the trash piled on it that you get in any percent. Still no bench friends.
Rainbow spin there across the gap in City Hall. But he makes it.
Going for the style strats.
Yeah. No, unlucky with the spin throw though.
MiiWii getting scooter clip, I mean.
Yep.
And opting for the bench friend skip. We will never forget you, bench friend.
Hi. Oh.
He served us well.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, where are you going, MiiWii?
I think MiiWii just forgetting the order of musicians there.
Well, you can't get these in any order, so
It's
maybe
true.
he had some big play with the scooter there to rush over to the bases. But I believe using the flicks is faster anyway.
It is faster. It is more reliable to take the scooter, though, over to the
scooter's
guitarist. Yeah.
I thought it would have repositioned.
If you happen to leave the scooter next to Pauline when you grab the drummer, it stays there. So.
Huh.
It is safer to take the scooter over to the guitarist because you won't bonk into anything.
Yep.
But it is faster to take the flicking forks.
Meanwhile, Luke gets his 2-cycle on Mecha Wiggler here.
Very clean.
Nice. Maybe he's having some trouble with these musicians. He keeps. I'm assuming he's got any percent on the brain for that one. Just
He
forgot
must.
He needs to warp. Oh, what? Okay.
What is happening? All right, that is
So
a very
okay, so normally you would warp and then go over to the full moon and get the musician up on the high rise there.
yes.
I think MiiWii's confused himself a bit and thought that he has to do that last without thinking that the musician will reposition him anyway.
Right. That must be what happened there. Yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, we are making our way through. He's got 3 out of 4 musicians. Now he'll be warping up to the top again in order to gather those last few moons that remain. Realistically, you could, again, do these in any order. You could do the trumpeter first. I think it's just up to personal preference, essentially.
Okay, Luke's skipping Scoot Clip. He's not feeling comfortable with it and talking to our dear friend Bitch Friend instead. It's a respectful choice.
Yes. He might be gone for most, but some people do pay him his due respects. All right, MiiWii picking up the last of the musicians here. He did grab the pool moon and he grabbed bench friends, which means that he will not likely be going for sewer clip because he will need 1 more moon on top of the ones that you get inside the festival and for clearing out the piranha plants, which could be a smart decision, like we were mentioning before. It could be risky to go for the sewer clip.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the right move, especially with the current lead he has. There's no need to go for time save that the opponent will definitely not be going for.
Indeed. I'm not quite sure if these guys know what their pace is compared. I think there might be a bit of a delay on the stream, so that you may or may not see just how far ahead you are compared to your opponent, but you kind of just have to do what feels right in the moment. Also, MiiWii, I'd just like to comment on his sewer movement there. I've never seen that wall jump strat to get up. Usually I use the like the rotating platforms to get up there. But MiiWii opting for a much riskier looking, but also safe or a swaggy way of getting up there.
There's a little first person he did there. Does that actually save some animation time on that moon spawn, or is that just for funsies?
I think it might just be for fun, because either way, the moon has to do its little spin around.
Right.
But it'd be interesting to see. I've never seen that before.
And Luke, I believe, has 1 musician left here.
Just the bassist, I believe. He did get the trumpeter already. Taking a bonk on the rubble. And MiiWii here is entering the festival, the best part of the game. No questions asked.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty shiny.
Yeah. We'll see if he gets a good barrel cycle here. There is some sort of camera manipulation that goes into this, is that right?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
In the festival is more or less just a timing thing. If you do it optimally, you won't take damage like halfway through the last chunk, and if you're really fast, there is a potential to not take damage at all. But yeah, it all basically comes down to your timing.
Gotcha.
It's all on a cycle based on when you enter the pipe at the beginning. Which means you can kind of muck about in that 3D part as much as you want without ruining anything.
Oh no, Luke. Just tapping the twirly... what would you call this? Just
I don't know,
twirly
rotating
thing.
platform of sorts.
Yeah.
He, I think he was just trying to use Cappy to get some more height on the wall, and that unfortunately activates that rotating platform. Having to do that a little bit of a slower way.
angle was a little askew for the wall jump, so he was fixing himself.
Yeah, and not realizing that that might happen as a result.
Yeah, understandable. It's a force of habit to always use Cappy to do that sort of thing.
It's true. I know that I always get stuck in timer challenges for that reason. Sometimes I'll just jump right off of cliffs because I think that Cappy's going to be there, and he's not. So
we'll see if any of them pull that move in Luncheon.
Oh yes, there's one particularly interesting spot where that is very much a real thing that can happen. So
yeah. MiiWii had a good festival. He's leaving Metro now, and he's got 3 kingdoms left of world peace, and then from there it'll be back to any percent.
That's right. The
We'll
MSSL chunk is all world peace,
yeah,
more or less.
We'll see if he does Seaside first, just to
continue with the memory.
Yeah.
Kitten's got bets on that.
Okay.
No, opting for snow first.
All right, fair enough. It could be that his splits are set up so that Wooded is first, because again, I know he does that in any percent.
That is true. I know when I run races, I still run my splits just to kind of gauge my pace.
Yeah, it's definitely useful information.
Snow is one of the probably most aggravating kingdoms in this run, I would say. There's 2 choke points in particular that make world peace a little bit frustrating. The first one, of course, is the snow clip. MiiWii being on 1.0, he might have a better chance at getting the roll cancel clip. It'll be interesting to see if any of them go for the moon clip instead, though, which is the optimal choice as well as the more consistent one. But it doesn't always, you only get one chance at that, so it doesn't always work out.
Yep.
Very similar to the nut clip.
There. That wall jump there can sometimes actually send you downwards.
Yes.
For seemingly no reason. Alright, looks like he didn't try to go for the moon clip there.
Indeed. Perhaps just not in practice of it, but he's also on 1.0, so you may feel confident about this roll cancel clip.
Now, from 1.0 to 1.2, is there any difference in strategy you want to go for with this clip that MiiWii's attempting and just got?
I think that the execution is the same. I know that, like for the pyramid clip, for example, the spot on the wall doesn't really matter in 1.0. There's a couple of different places you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But with this one, you kind of just wedge yourself in the corner where the stair is, and then run towards the wall. I find that sliding against the wall and doing a backflip is not the strat to go for there. It's much more of like a running at the wall. Mario kind of like leans into his run and his nose clips into the wall. That's when you know you're in the right position. And I think that's how it works on both versions.
Would you care to wager a guess for Bound Bowl? MiiWii is about to start as soon as he starts bouncing the right way here.
Oh, hells yeah. So, Bound Bowl, I love Bound Bowl. I know a lot of people don't like Bound Bowl, but it's such a fun little mini game. It's much more fun when you get good at it, I suppose.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm not sure how good MiiWii was going to be at this Bound Bowl. Good guesses for this are in the 53 to 57 range, more or less. Some really good runners, mainly Bayleaf, Kerbis, Timpani. They can manage to get 52s most of the time. But one little hiccup is usually about a second of time loss in Bound Bowl. And it's very easy to kind of lose your momentum in a bunch of different places. Alright, and here Luke is going to be approaching the moon clip as well. We'll see if he goes for that.
Just under 57 for MiiWii. Pretty good.
Yes, indeed. 56. Not bad. All right, Luke
Okay,
opted out of the moon
oh.
clip.
Luke's going for upstairs clip here instead of the downstairs.
Indeed, we're going to see a bit of a comparison between the clips. And Luke actually took less attempts at his clip than MiiWii did. Upstairs is arguably safer than the downstairs one.
Yeah, I've actually never attempted that one, but it is supposedly easier.
Me neither, actually. The downstairs one, I find that it's a bit of a roulette whether you get it or not. You can kind of do the inputs right and just kind of hope and pray that you go through. But upstairs just seems to be a bit more consistent.
Meanwhile, MiiWii's outside now. We'll see if he goes for Snowdram for his last moon here. It is only a
very
2-second time save, I believe.
It's a very swaggy, risky choice, I think. It doesn't save nearly as much time as it does in any percent, unfortunately. But it's enough, you know? I feel like when the time comes that World Peace is jonesing for 2 seconds, then you'll see Snowdram in World Peace a lot more, but until that day.
Personally, I go for it in my World Pieces because
really?
I'm comfortable with it at this point.
Yeah.
Fishing.
Yep, fishing. If anybody says they like fishing, they're lying.
Yep.
Ooh, MiiWii having trouble with the fishing here. This could be Luke's chance to catch up.
It can be very annoying because, you know, you want to go fast, and so you have to wait for a strong pull from the fish, but it can take any number of pulls until he actually does that. And you have to respond like fairly quickly. So
Yes.
it can be easy to feel that small rumble and just try and jump on it too soon before you realize you're wrong. We've got it now, though.
Indeed. Took us a couple tries, but we're there. He's gonna opt for the timer challenge. The safer choice by far. But yeah, that fishing, and especially if you're on a good pace, it can be very tempting to just press the A button on the first one anyway.
Yeah.
Just like knowing that if it was first bite, you'd be super optimal, but it doesn't always work out in your favor that way.
So you can press A to reel it?
As far as I know, you can press any of the face buttons, really.
I use motion control to reel the fish.
Oh, really?
Interesting. I thought that was the only way to do it.
Oh, there you go. You have to shake to kind of reel it in afterwards, but yeah, as soon as like that first bite happens, you can just press any of the buttons.
Huh.
Except for release capture, because that's not a good idea.
No. Luke got a 58 on that bound bowl, by the way. That was a pretty good time.
Not too bad. Sub-minute, sub-minute is a good time.
I'll take anything under a minute.
It does add up, that we're talking about 5 or 6 seconds here from like what the optimal runners can do, and even though it does just seem like a couple laps around the track, they all do account for something at the end of the day. So
yeah, for me, I think it's very easy to just overlook that and not think about it.
True. But if you were looking to gold snow, for example, and you got your first try fish and you got your clip perfectly and you were wondering where that extra 5 seconds is, could very well be in bound bowl.
Yep.
Now MiiWii entering Seaside, and I think I said this about Metro, but Seaside is also another one of my very favorite kingdoms in this particular run. It's dominated by story moons. You need 10 to leave, and there are 7 story moons in total. So we basically do a big lap around this kingdom and collect the fastest moons along the way. And at one point we just thought that some of the ones that were in the direct path were the fastest, but it turns out that some of them have some moon spawning animations, and talking to Captain Toad is rather slow. So over the course of the last week, actually, the route has changed, and you're going to see MiiWii go for that right here. He's got the Gushin on standby, but next to him. He's going to drop him into the water here.
Luke got really unlucky with that fishing there. The big fish just completely ignored him at the first go around and just swam straight into the wall and despawned himself.
Oof. I've had that happen before too. It's not fun.
Anyway, with the new seaside route, how much time does that save approximately? If you know?
Amazingly, like we didn't think it was going to be very much because there's underwater sections, and that's probably why nobody thought of this in the first place. But it ended up being somewhere in the ballpark of like 8 to 10 seconds.
Oh, that's really good. Speaking of really good, Luke doing a fantastic snowdram there.
There you go. We did end up seeing it after all. That's terrific. He saved that 2 seconds. He's making the comeback. This is where it starts.
Yeah. I mean, if you're confident in it, there's little reason to not.
Indeed. And we used to think it was an impossible trick, but yeah, I'd say that like the top runners also. MiiWii just maybe his dive input got eaten there or something.
That,
it's hard
that
to
definitely
tell.
looked like the case. Oh man.
Losing a couple seconds there. Nothing major. Fortunately, you do have to press all the buttons here. Oh no, and he's losing his gushin. Just a little bit of tomfoolery happening in Seaside right now. But yeah, there used to be What the Waves Left Behind inside this route, and he's just blazing right by that this time. He's going to go up on the top of the cliff here and get this moon. This one's really fast. But he's also going to skip over Captain Toad. And with World Peace and 90% are very similar, and even in the kingdoms that are different, the routes can kind of look the same. But because you have to account for story moons, we tend to cut out the slowest of the 90% moons, which makes World Peace seem faster sometimes. I think Seaside is a good example of that. Because even though you have to wait for story cutscenes, the rest of the kingdom feels very fast because the moons that you're getting in excess are some of the fastest ones in the game.
No. I think Seaside probably the most drastically different kingdom from 80% in the whole run.
I would say so. I think all of the categories do Seaside very differently from. It's just there's so many moons and so many, like it's quite a big space, and like the moons are kind of clustered together in little groups, I find. So depending on what your objective is, you can kind of pick and choose the fastest ones, but there are a lot of fast ones.
MiiWii going through the boss fight here. Brigadier Mollusk Lancier III, Dauphine of Bubbly.
Yes, a very prestigious title.
Lovely name, it is. He actually did have a little bit of trouble at first there. His gushin was just a bit too high, and his water actually just disappeared into the
Yes, I have seen that happen before. It's not fun. Causing him to probably miss the boss clip here, unfortunately. Which is just, the boss clip here is a strat you can do. If you end up beating the octopus to this platform, he can actually just go through the island and appear right where he is right now. It saves quite a significant amount of time.
Oh no, this is
we're having a little bit of issues. We have seen a lot of runners have some difficulty with this fight in this tournament so far.
Yeah. It is a tricky one. I think if you know exactly what you need to do and follow the safe path, it mostly goes okay. But as soon as you make one mistake,
absolutely
everything changes because all the timing's thrown off. His route through the water can be a little different.
Yeah,
it quickly turns into a mess.
It certainly can lose you a lot of time for a very small mistake.
Good opportunity for Luke here, though.
Indeed. Might be able to catch up a little bit. Another very frustrating part about Captain Toad here is that he's scared of gushins and doesn't like them on his island. So you have to keep it as far away from as possible. In this particular category, it's not entirely necessary to actually have the gushin up there because you're going to be coming down right away. But in Darker Side, for example, it's imperative that you keep him around. And then Luke is going to be pressing his last button, working on the boss fight himself. Yep. And if it's clean, he can make up some time here.
Certainly a long way to go still, though.
Indeed.
This is, the IP clip frustrations definitely lost him a bunch of time, and then little mistakes here and there, it's added up.
And we are entering some of the longer and more difficult kingdoms in the route as well, being Luncheon and Bowser's.
AllNew is on 1 HP here. I'm actually a little concerned.
This is definitely a little bit of a scary moment. There's a Gushin there looking to kill him as well. He's got to come into the spawn point here, and just to activate his movement. It looks like Luke is taking a little bit of a detour as well, going around the scenic route, just being as safe as possible, I imagine. He doesn't want to get hit by the boss in any capacity.
Meanwhile, MiiWii having a little bit of trouble with Salt Triple here. Oh, he gets an interesting backup. Usually I just abandon the strat as soon as the first try.
Yeah, the initial try doesn't go. And Luke grabbing that checkpoint for an extra safety. He's going to have to chase the boss down now here. Again, Brigadier causing troubles for everybody. I think only one runner has actually successfully done the boss clip and made that fight make that fight optimally, and I think that was Stravos. Everybody else has had troubles with that so far.
I believe it was Stravos.
And Luncheon being the last of the kingdoms in World Peace that takes a drastically different approach from any percent. There are some story moons, of course, in this section as well. The meat platform is a very fast one, but that's probably only about the halfway point of the kingdom. You still have to go up and complete the boss fight afterwards. MiiWii doing a bit of a spin pound strategy there to get up the stairs. Very clean. I've seen a lot of different ways to get up there, including one that involves a vault jump. Oh, and he's going for the... I've only ever seen Ekwon pull that off. That's a roll cancel into a...
He forgot boxing, I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, that kind of had me tongue-tied for a second. I was like, is he gonna pass that right up, or what is he doing? But he remembered. He's good.
It's a good moon to get.
Very fast. He would be kind of strapped for a backup if it came to that, because once you get towards the end of Luncheon Kingdom, there's not really a whole lot that you can do. And if he didn't realize when he got back to the Odyssey, there's nothing really close to the Odyssey that would be a very good backup either. So maybe something like the Goomba Tower Moon, but it's probably rather slow.
Yeah, the Goomba Tower is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't like that moon at all.
The infamous corn. Luke rolling off there.
Just some unlucky timing on his rolls there. He could not roll cancel because he was not on the ground.
Indeed, yeah. Just a touch of spaghetti. That part that MiiWii's just done there is always a bit of a sketchy moment for me as well.
Yeah, it can be very frustrating because the hitboxes, it can be weird, and when you go for that little dive onto that small ledge there, you can get hung up on what seems like nothing a lot of the time.
Indeed, yeah. The geometry in Luncheon is very strange, and it's not very clear what is a floor and what is a wall most of the time.
Yeah, you would think with the low poly aesthetic, it would be more obvious what the hitboxes are like, but really quite the opposite.
Indeed, yeah. It's very, very strange. Oh, Luke almost taking a dive into the lava there. Into the Pepto-Bismol. That would have not been good at all.
Alright, and here MiiWii is doing the timer challenge. This one, his hat will be gone for quite some time, so he has to keep this in mind and not let his muscle memory for the rest of the game take over and just assume he has his hat for this jump.
And it looks like he's pulled it off just fine.
No, he's a smart boy. Oh, flinging the wrong way, but
Yeah,
still
just
okay.
going for a little detour.
Yeah.
That fork can be a little bit tricky because the... Ooh, Luke taking a dive into the Pepto-Bismol there. I missed what just happened, but... Oh, he's going to have to start all the way back at this checkpoint.
I assume probably moving from the box moon over to the... Oh, no.
Oh, no, and he's done it again. Oh, that was a sick
good
backup,
recovery.
though. Very, very good recovery.
That was impressive. I would not have thought to do that. He had to stall his hat bounce there to get another hat throw out of the lava there.
Indeed.
Normally-
And he would have had to throw Cappy before he hit the lava as well and keep him there. So very smart thinking on Luke's part to save that. Both collecting story moons at the same time. Unfortunately, not the same ones, but MiiWii now approaching Koopa free running section, followed by everyone's favorite boss in the entire game. MiiWii did say that if anything was to screw him up in this race, he thought it was probably going to be this particular section, or this particular boss, rather. And I'd have to agree, it's probably the only part of the run that can screw you over through no fault of your own, aside from like fishing, I suppose.
Yep. Some good movement up there.
Yeah, he definitely, you can definitely tell that MiiWii has practiced the Koopa free running in Luncheon before.
And Luke almost taking that dive into the lava from that backside of the mountain segment we were talking about earlier, but he's okay.
It's just that tiny little portion of cliff that's sometimes doesn't cooperate.
Yeah, there we go. A little trouble hitting the butt that time, but not too bad.
On this third phase here, MiiWii taking a bit of a different approach than I've seen before, jumping directly up from underneath, which is an okay strategy. I think it's probably a little bit safer. The only downside being that you probably don't get the momentum to keep going. You can do that third phase in as little as 4 jumps optimally. But it doesn't look like he has very much problem with that at all. Oh, and Luke.
Luke! This is the mistake I was referring to, where you just, you know, of course I have my hat. Why wouldn't I?
Yep, exactly
But you
that.
not.
The amount of times that I've lost a run to that mistake.
Oh, that's a rough go. To be fair, the timer challenge does last a ridiculously long time for what it requires you to do.
It's true, it really does.
Oh, Luke. Okay.
All right, Luke might be panicking just a tiny bit here. He's just trying to make his way up this mountain here. Catch up in time. Getting the story moon for safety, probably a good idea here.
Sure, it'll save him a heal animation as well.
Indeed.
So when you pick up a moon while damaged, it will heal you. Assuming it's not a multi-moon, it does have a 2-second animation attached to that heal.
That's right, yes. And now, we were mentioning that Luke is a free runner. He does that quite often, so we'll get to see some very optimal movement, I imagine, section coming up.
Just barely missing that jump across the little lava spouts. Oh no.
Oh, and he missed the fire too.
Just really unlucky stuff for Luke in this kingdom.
Yeah, Luncheon can be unforgiving sometimes.
Absolutely.
And you have to really try and avoid being tilted, otherwise it just never works out for you. If you start getting a little bit frustrated with it, you kind of just have to keep your cool. MiiWii doing arguably the hardest boss in the entire game.
Oh, without question.
Yeah. The fact that we have to do it in every category is just, it's excruciating, actually.
Probably 90% of my runs die right here. It's just that difficult. But hopefully we'll see some skilled boss fighting today.
AllNewLuke did indeed try to showcase the Koopa strat there. It's actually slower in this case to capture the Podoboo because in Koopa freerunning, capture animations are not included in the timer. Time stops. So capturing that Podoboo is actually slower in real time than it is in Koopa freerunning time. But I imagine muscle memory kicking in there.
I did not know that. That's wow.
Yeah, and it actually plays into trying to get good Koopa freerunning times if you can manage to fit in captures whenever possible. And doing capture warps and stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can throw Cappy, 5 feet in front of you and just warp there with the timer stopped, then you're saving that couple of seconds actually moving there yourself.
So throughout the whole animation, it does not take the timer. Wow.
Isn't that crazy? And that's also why they try and do that spin throw strat in luncheon to get the fork flick at the top. Because the lower you can get the fork flick, the more time you save because it freezes. Now Luke is approaching here the last phase of the Cookie Teal fight. Making it look really risky. Oh, and he's taking a fall.
And yeah, this is the frustration with this fight.
Indeed. He's dancing all in front of his face.
Yeah.
And just nothing is happening at all.
Slid down his cheek, and wow, this is possibly the most unlucky I've ever seen.
He should have hit the boss like 6 times by now.
I can't believe it.
It's just not happening for him. Poor guy. He's just not having a good luncheon. Oh no, my dude.
If you ever not convinced of the bad hitboxes of this fight before, I don't think it's arguable anymore.
I would say that we have a pretty good showcase as to why they suck. Alright, and he's finally managed to close out the fight there. MiiWii, on the other hand, we have him entering Bowser's. He is a full ruined ahead at this point. It would take a lot of very unfortunate circumstances on MiiWii's part for Luke to catch up at this point, I think.
Yep.
We will see how it goes. Bowser's, Ruined, Moon, they're all the exact same as any percent. You're just looking to get from the start to the finish as fast as possible.
Luke could, of course, still be on a official PB pace here.
This is true.
I'm not sure what PB is because he said that 126 on the leaderboards is outdated, but could get that bumped down for him on this run.
Indeed, and I have seen him running this category more recently. He has been doing it on his channel quite a bit. It does say the 126 is from 2 weeks ago, so it's possible that he's gotten a better one in the meantime.
Yep.
But yeah, he's definitely on pace to beat that still, regardless of all the unlucky things that have happened.
World Peace, it's fun because there's a very quick curve to the time save, I find. You can drop from 130-ish to sub 125 within a few runs if you just kind of get a handle for where you need to go and what kind of things you need to do.
Totally. The same can be said about a lot of categories.
Yeah.
Perhaps not your very first one. I think that any percent to the grind kind of is very natural with your skill ability. But when you learn a new route in the same game, the first run is always kind of just like a dumpster fire. And then as you learn where you're going, you get a better feel of how to get there. And it just it cuts it down within the first 3 runs by minutes at a time. And it's kind of fascinating to watch because you have these any percent runners, the top any percent runners, playing the most optimized category at the highest level. And as soon as they approach a different category, all of a sudden it's brand new material. And it can even trip them up. These incredible, very, very efficient runners can sometimes slip up.
Yep.
It's kind of a humbling experience, to be honest.
Yeah, certainly. It really shows that it's a lot of, you can have the raw skills to it, but you do need to know exactly how you're applying them in this instance.
Absolutely.
To be quick.
And from a longer category perspective, I think that's where that kind of mentality helps. By running a category like All Unique Moons, for example, it kind of gives you some insight as to what the rest of the game looks like. So even in a scenario where you are playing any percent and the route is more or less straightforward, if something were to go wrong, you might be able to conjure up a backup with the information that you have from the longer category.
Yeah, MiiWii doing some cheeky waddling strats for for Harriet here. Look at this.
This is very interesting. I guess that puts you like right in the right spot.
I suppose so. I'm not
never
sure
thought
if
to
that
do
was
that.
optimal as far as how many hops she was doing, but that was fun.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Harriet versus Duck Mario.
Future strats for waddle percent.
There you go. Never forget.
Yeah. Waddle percent being a theoretical category where you just crawl like that throughout the entire game.
Yes. Your only methods of movement are backflips and waddles.
Yeah. Topper not going quite as hot.
He's down to 1 heart, and there's one in the middle, so he might be okay.
He found the right hat. That's the only one that bounces off the walls. After you hit it, that is.
That's right, yeah. And then finishing up that fight there. So now MiiWii is looking to be a full brutal split ahead. That times out to about 4 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Things can still go wrong, though, I believe.
Absolutely.
The movement in this section chunk of Bowser's is arguable than the first part, especially if you're going for the Crate Moon. And we still have the Robo Brood to go as well.
Yep. Okay, MiiWii's had a very good race. I would not be surprised if he's on a potential PB pace. I can't recall anything that's really gone wrong for him yet. Outside of some hiccups here and there.
Indeed. Just like a couple of minor things. I think Seaside was... He did the optimal route, but the boss gave him a little bit of trouble, so it was probably still a good Seaside, but perhaps not optimal. But yeah, I would say he's definitely still... Oh, and Commentators curse, of course.
Wow.
Taking the risky jump after the Crate Moon.
How much time do you think that is? That's probably like a 15-20 second fall right there.
I was gonna say 20 to 25 seconds. Yeah, it's not a friendly one. And really, like, you go back to the last checkpoint in every part of Bowser's here, and that's just not a friendly place to die at all. And it's such a common place too. I've like, before mastering that, it would be the killer of my runs almost always.
Yeah. It's I believe the only section of the game for any percent and world peace where you just don't have control over the camera. You cannot readjust it to see where you're going, so you have to know the exact inputs and timing you need to do to make that jump.
Yeah, exactly. And it's only about halfway through that you get back. And by then, like, you know, you have either made the jump or you haven't, essentially.
Not a bad shards from Mr. Luke here.
Nice and clean. MiiWii, of course, approaching the Robo Brood fight. He's doing the Goryuya method.
It's 2 for 2 so far. Looks good.
And it doesn't look like he'll be doing Harriet third. We've seen a lot of trouble with the Robo Brood in this particular tournament as well. Quite a few runners have fallen off and potentially lost their chance at winning the race as a result of this fight. But MiiWii making it look easy, picking up the win against the Robo Brood there. And making it all that much more difficult for Luke to close the gap.
Yep. Luke opting to do topper first here. I'm personally not a fan of that. I don't know why Harriet first feels so much more natural, but it does to me.
I think it's just because it's on the left. Personally.
That's okay, yeah.
It just feels like the natural order of things.
Uh-huh.
That's why I do it. But it seems the community is actually more split on it than I thought they would be. Yeah. I know that topper first makes more logical sense because you're more likely to take damage. But
sure.
So, you know, it's just like I've always done Harriet first. It was the way that I watched Nightcrow do it when I first started running the game. And I've just never stopped, I guess. And MiiWii piles it in the last moons of the game. He's on his way to the moon now. And ready to close this up, I think.
Yeah. Looking at his time here, he may not be on PB pace after all. Moon will take him about 5.5 minutes.
Yes, give or take, depending on if there are any slip-ups.
Yeah. Looking like just under 123 for MiiWii.
That is a possible time for him. Take into consideration the fact that he also sewer clip and FMS as a result of racing somebody on 1.2. Still a little bit slower than his PB pace, but still a very good run, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. Meanwhile, Luke starting the second half of Bowser's here. Hopefully he has a little better luck with this jump after he gets this moon.
Yes, it would be tragic to see them both fall on this one. MiiWii with excellent vectors in the moon section there.
And Luke taking it easy, letting the camera turn around for him before he goes for that little gap.
Right. Probably the safe thing to do. Might lose a couple seconds, but it's definitely the safe thing to do.
Maybe looking like he's going for Moon Cave for a second.
Just going on a little detour, you know?
Yeah. Nice, clean moon skip.
Making it look really easy. Ooh, and Luke is having a little bit of trouble getting up the mech here. He's trying for the backflip climb strat, which, if you're not in the exact position, tends to be a little bit tricky. But
in my opinion, the climb up to Brutal initially is by far the hardest part of this fight.
I would say so too, actually. Once you have a handle, oof, and he just missed strat. Once you have a handle on all the other portions of it, it doesn't really give you a whole lot of trouble, usually. But there's always those one instances.
Super unfortunate for Luke to fall during this cycle because, as you saw, the wooden panels do close before you really get a chance to use them.
That's right.
No. Kitten also very upset at this development.
As she should be. Right, and MiiWii just finishing off the last phase of this Bowser fight.
Oh no, Luke.
Luke takes another fall.
And potential for death here. He's on 1 HP. He's going for this heart. Oh, don't get stepped on.
Oh my goodness, it's so close.
That's cinematic. That was good.
You gotta put it in there somehow, right? Oh, he even like...
You have to respect the Harriet third.
Yeah, that's craziness.
And into escape for MiiWii.
Yep, down to the final couple minutes for MiiWii. We just have to hope that there isn't any mess-ups in the 2D section. Very infamous place to lose the run. And of course, maybe if he falls in the pillar section, maybe
I've done it before.
but 3 times?
No.
No.
Not 3 times.
If maybe 3 times, Luke could potentially catch up. However, the chances are looking very slim now. There's a lot of ground to make up.
And he's out of the 2D. That's the more dangerous of the two, by far.
Yes, indeed.
Now it's just a matter of whether he saves 5 seconds with this early pillar strat that he'll no doubt go for.
And for some reason, like, I think we always knew it was there, but I don't know if we ever knew it's like as fast as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because this strat can actually, yeah, it saves about 5 seconds if you get the pillar down early.
Okay, maybe going for a bit of a more conservative first pillar by just running straight towards it so that the
That's
angles
right.
are guaranteed to hit.
And while that is probably a little bit slower, it's still the faster method over having to come back to hit that pillar
Yep.
in any capacity, so. And with those fireballs, he's going to be finishing it up. Just as Luke is arriving to the moon. Luke also not quite on PB pace by the looks of it. He'll be behind by a couple minutes.
And for me, we've got, oh, the 123 exactly, alright.
123 flat. Not a terrible run.
No, not at all. Especially considering, compared to his PB, he was losing those 1.0 advantages.
Indeed, which totals to about 40-ish seconds.
No.
But yeah, otherwise a very solid run. We'll just see Luke finish up the kingdom here as well.
Okay, a little safety hat throw. I'm personally not a fan of the hat throw to line up Moonskip for the wall jump there. Necessary to me.
I've kind of lost the need for it, but I can understand where that kind of comes from, lining yourself up.
And of course, we will be waiting for post-match interviews for Luke to finish up first.
Correct,
Just
yes.
have both here. Hopefully we finish strong.
I believe.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can get a gold out of this this moon here at the end.
Yeah. The outside segment looked a little shaky. Nothing too bad though. Not sure what Luke's gold 4 moon is. It's a tricky kingdom. You can easily be losing 10 seconds and not even be realizing it.
That's what I've noticed, yeah.
Luke standing a little too far back for his backflip there.
Yeah, as it seemed.
Yeah,
Bowser took his hat back right away.
He was able to stop the hat from moving forward, but he was not right above it. So it went to Bowser instead of him.
Unfortunately, which means he's just gonna have to do that cycle one more time. On to the last hit here. This fire looks a lot more menacing than it actually is, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I never really understood why something that was probably the scariest attack in the game will never actually hurt you.
No. It's actually just a line on the ground. If you're airborne at all, it will not hit you.
That's crazy.
And it's also a very, very thin line in comparison to the visual.
Yeah, because I mean the fire extends up, you know, probably over Mario's head when he's standing on the ground, but it doesn't really matter in the case of hitboxes.
MiiWii going off to the castle to verify his run by getting the Toadette achievement.
And also sending Peach on her journey, because why not? You know, she deserves a vacation.
Oh, she's there.
I think so. And we'll see how Luke finishes this up here. Again, there's one real scary part remaining for him, and that's just this 2D area. We'll We'll see if he attempts the 2D skip. We've actually seen a couple runners in this tournament already opt out of it for safety. Not a bad idea for race purposes, I think. You just kind of have to go with what your most comfortable strategy is.
Mm-hmm. Oh no. It's happened.
Oh no. He's messed up the 2D skip.
He's standing there in shock. Oh,
Oh
no.
no. What do you
That's
do
rough.
elsewise?
Yeah. Of course, any death during the escape sequence sends you back straight to the start.
Including the pillar room.
Yep.
It's a very big chunk of time that you lose for that.
Yeah, all in all, if you're at the very end, that is about 2 minutes lost.
An unfortunate chunk of time to take as well.
He's getting... Okay.
He's got it this time.
Very nice. Respectful. Can't let 2D skip win in the end. Gotta show it too soon.
Kitten cheers for Luke's victory, of course.
See, my cats aren't as talkative.
Oh yeah, she's always going.
They're silent observant. Except when it's dinner time, of course.
Yes. Yeah, Kitten doesn't really care. She's always talking.
Alright, Luke going for the more ambitious first pillar. Does not seem to be going too hot.
Just a little bit of wildfire there.
It's tough. It's really tough.
Indeed. I always try and kind of stick to the right edge so that I'm a little bit closer to line it up.
Yeah.
Which means that he is going to have to go around and break that first pillar again. And that'll do it.
And alright. Looks like just a little bit over 129 here. MiiWii going back for Captain Toad, respectful. No man left behind. And a
Finishing it up.
129.05.
Not bad. Sub 130.
Yep. And we've got our people here for the post-match interview now.
That was definitely a
Hello.
race.
That was
a
definitely a
yeah.
race.
GSA.
That was probably the worst showing I could have done.
It happens, especially when big mistakes happen early on. It can be difficult to kind of reel yourself back in
Yeah,
and calm
especially
down.
the Pyramid Club. I felt that. It was-
Mhm.
Yeah, my pyramid. I didn't get tilted for my pyramid clip. I kind of expected it.
Yeah, you did say at the beginning of the match that was the one thing that you were kind of nervous about. It all kind of came to a head, I think, at luncheon was when things started going.
Definitely, my
seriously
luncheon.
bad.
I've never had that bad of a luncheon.
It looked
Yeah.
like,
I-
from our perspective, it kind of looked like your triple jump after the timer challenge. You forgot that you had, or you didn't have Cappy, rather. Or maybe
didn't
you were
forget.
expecting.
The Cappy didn't come back as fast as I thought he would.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's always a shame. I've definitely lost a couple runs there myself, so I understand the pain there.
Yeah.
MiiWii pulling out the win in this one. It looked, from our perspective, to be a very clean run. I don't think there were very many major mistakes that really happened. I think the only one was perhaps the Brigadier fight and just having to chase him down at the end.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't remember if you got the boss clip or not.
I
he had a
I didn't go
trouble with
for your
fishing.
boss club. I just
Okay.
went up there.
Right.
I also
And then just slightly missed the hit on him and had to chase him down. But otherwise, we saw a very good run on MiiWii's side.
Yeah. I also in the Seaside I switched to Joy-Cons a lot throughout the kingdom, and I dropped more inputs and I missed a dive input.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I had to recover a bit from that. Lost some time.
I do remember that, actually. I do remember it was the hot spring button, and you had to jump back up the platform. And we did see a couple down throw strats, and I especially in Lake, that very first fish at the beginning, I didn't recognize that you were actually playing on Joy-Cons. So it's
Yeah,
interesting to
I
see that
either.
kind of stuff.
It's hybrid, switching between the two.
Oh, I heard that sometimes they can switch without you knowing, and it can just completely mess up your run.
That's if you have your controller as drift, and
Oh, okay.
then use myself.
Risk first reward on that one. Well, anyway, maybe is there anything that you were super happy with in particular? Just one good split? Any golds or
I
close to
mean-
golds?
My wooded was pretty good. Like I didn't make too many mistakes. I don't think I made any really. I golded that by a few seconds. I had a good moon and a good ruined. I golded both of those splits, which is also good because I added my any percent golds to my world peace splits.
Oh wow, there you
So I
go.
beat my any percent golds too.
Your best showings in both of those categories then, just for those
My
kingdoms.
My Bowser's was really good until Mac.
Yes,
Yeah,
there
that
was
was
an unfortunate mech fight.
Oh.
Very unfortunate.
I think it was not just the second phase, but also the last one. You did.
Yeah.
We do commend you for going for Harriet third, though. It's
I
very high
usually
risk.
get it. I usually don't miss it, but
Sometimes
stay
in
far away
race
from-
situations, the tensions get high in a race situation. So
No.
these kinds of things happen.
Yeah.
Well, a well-played match from the both of you guys. I believe we're going to take a quick intermission. The next match that we have is going to be between Chaos and Kamikama, and they are going to be racing in 28 minutes. So we will see those guys very shortly. Thank you guys.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, MiiWii, and thank you, Luke, for the race. Very well played.
Yeah.
And we'll see you, MiiWii, in the next round.
Yeah. See you.
good job, MiiWii.
Next round.
Beat Bailey
thanks.
for me.
Yeah. GG's.
All
Yeah.
right, boys.